How good is that?
Wow.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, November 12th, 2015. Time once again for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 773.
This is No Agenda.
Preparing for the deportation forces and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in FEMA Region 6, Austin, Texas. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I just saw the California Zephyr slide by, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Was it dirty?
Actually, it was.
The Zephyr? Yeah. Yep.
Meanwhile,
back at the ranch,
I'm listening to Newsnight, which is everyone, Newsnight, BBC News.
BBC Newsnight, yes.
BBC Newsnight, that's the 60 Minutes of England. Oh, it's the greatest. Blah, 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 blah. And so here they are.
Hold on. Are you saying that it's no good?
Well, here they are propagating the bull crap which we fight on our show about the chemical weapons and the use on the civilians, which was actually researched to death, shows that it wasn't shot by the Syria. It was a setup to bomb Syria. It's bull crap. And then, of course, the Russians stepped in and had all the stuff removed. But that's a meme that the mainstream media keeps promoting. Oh, they use chemical weapons on themselves, which makes no sense if you really think about it. So here we go again. This is the ending of this little ditty from Syria. They're talking to the number 2 woman in Syria who's very poorly mic'd, and she's denying
number 2
everything.
woman of what? Of what?
She's like the number 1 assistant to Assad.
Okay, gotcha.
And so she's the spokeshole now.
Okay.
And she's poorly mic'd, and it's in an echo box. You can barely hear her, but you can. And then she says everybody's got it wrong, and she sounds like she's probably right about most of this. And then the guy, especially about the chemical bombings, says the chemical weapons. He says we agree. The way he sums it up is we have to agree to disagree, which I think is the stupidest thing anyone can say. So let's play.
That the West put for itself, that it is the Syrian government who is responsible for what is happening in Syria.
The Syrian Network for Human Rights, just looking at figures for December last year, said that 85% of the civilian deaths were from government forces. How can the West ally themselves with government forces, barrel bombs, chemical weapons, and the like being used against their own people?
I'm sorry, but you are reiterating stories that had been defeated, by investigation and by real research. The chemical and the chlorine has been investigated and has been proven that it was used by forces from outside Syria and by those terrorists. Barrel bombs is a phrase that has been invented by the West and used by the West only to justify the wrong stance that the West has taken since the beginning of this crisis. If I can say one sentence, the West has been wrong all along on Syria. It is about time to review their stance.
We'll obviously agree to disagree for now on that particular point.
It should be. Really? We should go investigate that. That sounds credible. I mean, but of course we get all our information from the Syrian Observatory. What is that? That one guy in an apartment somewhere in London. The official Syrian observation post company outfit thing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. There's a lot of good information about the so-called barrel bombs, as well as the chemical weapons, and we did a lot of that work as well. That it's very disprovable, but yeah, to say this is happening, I see this on the face page too. Well, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on that. Well, then what's the point of having an argument with you?
Agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
You can always disagree. You don't have to agree. Do you have to agree to disagree?
No.
What about
you can just disagree.
How about disagreeing to disagree?
That's what I would say. I disagree to disagree. I'm going to keep disagreeing until you agree with my disagreement.
It's like I agree to disagree. Or we have to agree to disagree. No, we don't have to. What does it even mean? We disagree. We disagree. That's the way it is. There's a good kind of a Yiddish thing. We disagree to disagree.
Oi. National Enquirer, front page, Hillary, 6 months to live.
Oh.
This is a variation we hadn't thought of. Listen to this. I'm looking at it right now.
Well, then she's never going to get elected.
Hillary, 6 months to live. Brain cancer and blood clots. MS, strokes and alcohol abuse. And there's an inset with Bill. Cruel Bill forces her to stay on campaign trail. I had not seen this one coming.
Boy, I didn't see that one coming. That's a beauty.
Here's the abstract. Failing health and a deadly thirst for power are driving Hillary Clinton to an early grave. The National Enquirer has learned in a bombshell investigation, and they pay for their information.
They do pay for their stuff. They'll bribe people to get this information.
The desperate and deteriorating 67-year-old won't make it to the White House because she'll be dead in 6 months, sources told the Enquirer. Amazingly, her ultra-competitive husband is the one pressuring her to stay on the campaign trail despite her decline.
We do know that she was out of the picture for a while after she supposedly collapsed or bumped her head.
Right. Yeah.
So we do have that issue, which has still never been fully resolved or discussed.
But I think we certainly initially thought that it would be great to kill off Bill or have him be sick and she'll have to drop out. This is better. Bill is making me do it. He's forcing me. I have to stay in for the family, for the good of America, even though I only have 6 months to live. You know what? I've consulted with my doctors, and I think I should drop out and give all my money to Elizabeth Warren or Joe Biden.
All major media outlets receive most or all of their financial support from sponsors, underwriters, and advertisers. As such, their coverage and analysis of news and current events is tainted by the interests of the supporting organizations and corporations. The No Agenda Show is 100% user-supported. This value-for-value model allows your hosts, Adam and John, to provide true analysis and deconstruction of the media, government, and economy in ways that other forms of mass media cannot. Simply put, the No Agenda Show is, quite possibly, the only truly journalistic news outlet in existence today. Please visit noagendashow.com for the latest episode.
So maybe it's appropriate now to play the most recent performance from Nigel Farage in the
yes.
Starfleet Command.
There was a link to it in the show notes if you want to hear it on your own machine sometime. But I thought it was a gem, and that's where I got the picture. In the newsletter, you see the picture of
Merkel and Hollande.
And Hollande is leaning away from her. This body language thing is so obvious. Mm-hmm. And then Hollande got up later and just gave a pretty good speech, kind of trying to counter what Farage said. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of a utopian type speech.
And what Farage does here is he really leans into the violent past of Europe, in particular between France and Germany.
Yes, he's trying to goad them.
And we know that if you want strife in Europe, all you got to do is have Germany attack France. That's how it always starts. Have we done this twice in a row?
It's also you go back far enough that French attacked the Germans. I mean, Napoleon wasn't being attacked by the Germans.
He was not a nice guy.
It goes back and forth. Yeah.
Thank you. Nobody in their right minds would not agree that it was a sensible thing to do to get France and Germany together round the table, to break bread with each other, to have a deal with each other back in the 1950s, and to work as sovereign democratic nations together for peace. All of that was absolutely right and high-minded. Sadly, the whole thing has become corrupted. Tony Blair said the EU today is no longer about peace, it is about power, and how right he was, and how that power has shifted. When Kohl and Mitterrand came here representing their countries 25 years ago, it was a partnership of equals, but no longer. France is now severely diminished, trapped inside a currency, frankly, from which she can't recover, and the French voice in this relationship and in Europe is little more now, frankly, than a pipsqueak. We're living...
I'm not sure. Is there another historical? I've tried to find it. Another historical meaning behind pipsqueak. Is that something horrible about someone who buckled the pressure for Hitler or something?
I don't think so. I think it's really just a common term that's used that means a little diminished person that's
little man
squeaking.
Wait, how tall is
Farage must have set this up. He had some of his stickers, Independence Party stickers, and then he had a bunch of people behind. He had a whole group around him that was just chortling and clapping at everything he said.
Hollande is 5'7". Does that count as a pipsqueak? I don't think so, really.
5'7" for a male. You could be borderline petite male at the,
petite
possible.
Male. Petite male.
Petite male.
I'm hi. Welcome to the Gap. Yes, you have anything for petite males?
That's an actual term.
And in Europe is little more now, frankly, than a pipsqueak.
The Brits liked it.
Living, and it's an irony, isn't it?
I didn't know he was. Now that you mention, I didn't know he was 5'7". So I think that was
I think it's a slang. I think it's an insult.
Project that was designed to contain German power has now given us a totally German-dominated Europe. Woo! Just look at the euro. Germany has a currency that is undervalued by 20%, a growing and massive trade surplus, and most growth in the German economy since the collapse of 2008 has indeed been in exports to other Eurozone countries, such as your very big arms sales to countries like Greece. And when we have a general election that says a country like Greece wants to change direction, well, I'm sorry, but that now must be brushed aside because the Germans don't want it. And in what must count as perhaps the worst piece of public policy seen in modern Europe for half a century, when you compounded the already failing and flawed EU common asylum policy by saying to the whole world, please come to Europe, and we saw, frankly, virtually a stampede. And we learn that 80% of those that are coming are not Syrian refugees. In fact, what you've done is to open the door to young, male, economic migrants, many of whom, I have to say, behave in a rather aggressive manner, quite the opposite to what you would ever expect to see from any refugee. And yet when that failure is met by objections from countries like Hungary, their opinions are crushed. This isn't a Europe of peace, it's a Europe of division. No. It's a Europe of disharmony. It's a Europe that is a recipe for resentment, and yet, faced with all this failure, both of you said the same thing today. You said Europe isn't working, so we must have more Europe. More of the same failing. Well, there is, I think, a bright star on the horizon. It's called the British referendum. And given that none of you want to concede Britain the ability to take back control of our own borders, a Brexit now looks more likely than at any point in modern time, and I hope and pray that Britain voting to leave the European Union will be the beginning of the end of a project, however noble its original intentions, has gone rotten.
Rotten it's gone. It's gone rotten. We have a boots on the ground report from Germany.
Oh, good.
Sir Kelby Koenig, who says he's the self-proclaimed future JCD. I think it's a compliment. Hi, Adam. Fortunately, we couldn't attend the Boulder meetup this year. I had a flight that night to Germany. While traveling, I fell behind on the best podcast in the universe. Looking forward to hearing some real deconstruction. Seeing Germany and the migrants firsthand was very interesting. While in Hamburg, I saw hundreds of immigrants, he says, walking the streets. And he did exactly what a No Agenda producer was. He goes up and talks to him. So when asked about their feelings towards the mass immigration, every German citizen replied the same way. They said, these people are hurting and need help. I think this is the national guilt that Germans have from World War II. That felt good about, and that it felt good about helping others in need. Their only complaints were that senior citizens of Germany receive around 650 euros a month for Social Security. These new immigrants receive 800 euros a month, even though they've never worked in Germany in their life. It was sad to see a person in retirement digging through trash bins for plastic bottles to be recycled, a person who worked their whole life and gave to the government for their future retirement, and they have to spend any free time dumpster diving to make ends meet. The other complaint was that the reason these poor people were even traveling to the EU was because of the damn Russians. They're all in there on the Russians being all of the world's problems. That's I didn't expect that.
That's a very good report.
I didn't expect that at all. I thought it was good too.
Meanwhile, this report, I'm not going to play the third part of that. It's not that interesting. But let's play Russians needle the U.S. over sincerity and terrorism. I thought this was
Italian Defense Minister Roberto Pioliti. He said the U.S. will, however, conduct basic technical talks with Russia about efforts to ensure flights over Syria are conducted safely. Meanwhile, the Russian Defense Ministry says Washington's refusal to share intelligence with it about the position of the Islamic State militants shows the U.S. is looking for an excuse not to fight terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've nailed it.
Yeah.
The Russians have figured this out.
Yeah.
We don't want to fight any of this stuff. We want rebelization.
Yep.
We want ISIS to do well. The Iraqis have probably figured this out, too. That's why they're inviting the Russians, and we're not talking about that.
We want ISIS to be great again.
We're this whole story that the American public's being fed is nonsense.
We have audio from the cockpit of the MiG-29 locking on to one of our fighters.
Oh, my God. I just really love it.
There you go. Taking a selfie.
This guy, I heard that. Yeah, that is him.
Taking a selfie. Oh, man. Well, maybe this next clip will help you. This was probably one of the best gaffes I've heard. Hold on. Let me bring this up. This was Hillary. And now what she's doing something interesting. Whatever the president is going on about, she immediately launches onto that as, this is something I'm working on. So so now it's the prisoners. The president, he just came out with a memorandum, and he's saying, okay, we've got to. This is his podcast this week. It's all about getting prisoners out. As you heard her at the black high school saying, hey, you're not going to go to jail for smoking crack. We're going to turn that back, and everyone loved it. Like, yeah, we can finally do crack, and we're not going to go to jail. Fantastic. So now she's on the prisoner tip, and here's what she said.
Every year, hundreds of thousands of prisoners re-enter society. That's the good news. They've paid their debt. They're free. But then what happens? They look for a job. Everywhere they go, doors are shut in their faces. That starts all over again, a cycle of poverty and hopelessness that too often can lead to more crime. Earlier today, I announced that as president, I will take steps to ban the box so former presidents won't have to declare their criminal history at the very start of the hiring process. That way, they'll have a chance to be seen as more than just someone who's done time.
Now, did you hear what she actually said?
About banning the box?
Yeah. What did she say right after banning the box?
I missed it.
Get ready.
I will take steps to ban the box so former presidents won't have to declare their criminal history at the very start of the hiring process.
That's right. Former presidents like you, Hillary, won't have to declare your criminal past.
Like Obama.
By banning the box.
And like Bill.
What a gaffe.
That is the clip of the day. Okay,
yeah,
play it.
I knew I was going to get it.
Clip of the day.
I will take steps to ban the box so former presidents won't have to declare their criminal history at the very start of the hiring process.
Hello, Mr. Freud speaking. Yes, hello? Hillary made a gaffe. I think she wanted to the truth always wants to come out. It was truly about the presidents being criminals. Love that.
There was, I think it was Madison, or I forgot who it was, that I think we had a clip of somebody talking about this. It was always anticipated that the nature of this country and our leadership, that some presidents would get impeached and thrown out. It was that's why it was in there. That's why we put it in the Constitution. And we don't even do anything. We have obvious criminals, and that would include, I would say, George Bush. Yeah, for sure.
Dick Cheney.
Cheney for sure. I think Clinton. Also, anybody. There's probably a couple other ones. Nixon. Yeah. Of course, he quit before you could do that, so he kind of jumped the gun on that. Yeah. But and then if you go back, people like Martin Van Buren and some of these other guys are just obvious criminals. Yeah. And we don't do anything about it, which is good and bad.
No, we elect them into higher office.
Yeah, well, and Hillary herself.
Okay.
Let's get back to Chaffetz.
All right.
Well, Chaffetz was doing this. He was also doing an investigation of the Secret Service.
Oh, well, I'm glad you caught this. I had no idea.
And so they decided, because Chaffetz is making trouble in two arenas. One, he's shaking up the money tree, as you would have it, with the Planned Parenthood discussions. And then the other one is he's investigating these guys chasing hookers and some of the other scandals. He wants to get to the bottom of it. So the Democrats, in particular, decide to go after him. And you can play here, Chaffetz more details.
The assistant director of the Secret Service wrote in a March email to a colleague, some information that Chaffetz might find embarrassing needs to get out just to be fair. The report also found employees accessed Chaffetz's old job application only 18 minutes after the start of a March congressional hearing he was leading about the latest Secret Service scandal. His unsuccessful application was then reported a few days later in the Daily Beast.
It's a bit scary. If they would do this to me, I just shudder to think what they might be doing to other people.
Yeah. Okay, I wonder what they have. Pictures. They got pictures, man. They got pictures.
He apparently had applied for a job with the Secret Service and was rejected. So the implication is that he's angry.
Right, and
he probably should take himself off the chairmanship for that.
He's vengeful.
One case.
He has full of vengeance.
And I think that this was all, I think, a scheme to just get to this guy in any way they could. I don't know if there was anything in his application that was, because no one brought it up. And the Daily Beast just says, they had a big headline, the Chaffetz conflict of interest. And although they were obviously right in the straight track. I mean, the guy decides to go into this, looking at his records. They give it right to the Daily Beast, the mouthpieces for the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
And they got this Chaffetz over here making trouble with the Planned Parenthood woman. So let's try to embarrass him. And it didn't work. In fact, the story didn't work to such an extent you didn't even know about the story.
No. Well, some things. Look, after the last show we did, and a lot of people asked me for this clip. Somehow it's crazy for them to understand the clips you play are under a heading called JCD clips. But the exposure that this VW gate was already well known a year ago in the media. It just shows how all of this really works. Nothing's a scandal until it's intended to be a scandal. And it's positioned that way in the mainstream. And some people just don't, they don't have, you can have a great idea, but you need a lot of the push and a lot of the connections to make something happen. And this is my last thing, a friend of mine who I was talking with 2 days ago, a woman here in Austin, and we were talking about Trump and everything. She says, I didn't vote for Obama the last time. And I said, okay. So she says, yeah, but I can't let anybody know here in Austin because we had a party, had a vote party, and there were women there who said to me, if you don't vote Democrat, you hate your vagina.
Wow.
Literal text.
Well, they're pulling this off. I'm in awe.
Since you brought up the money, I need to take a slight detour because this has become an issue, not just that they want the money from Joe Biden, but they want the money from somebody else. Now, here is Morning Joe Scarborough, which I'm just using as a lead-in to something that Pooper did.
I walked past the TV, I turned it on at CNN, swear to God, a 10-minute segment. I kid you not.
Oh, tell me.
Trump's exit strategy.
Yeah.
And they talk for 10 minutes. And I sit there going, what am I missing? The conversation continues. At what point does the media just admit we hate him so much that even when he is trouncing everybody, we loathe this vulgarian from Queens who we've never accepted into our club, and screw him, we're never going to give him any sort of respect. At what point Are they just going to say, okay, this is about math? I called them Trump deniers last week. They're math deniers.
Oh, total Trump deniers.
All right, so Joe Scarborough is wrong. That is not the problem. The problem is, as witnessed by a conversation between Anderson Vanderbilt Pooper and the president of Donald Trump's campaign, I think that was his title, who's a real Goomba. and here's the real problem.
He's done stuff from New York. He's had these huge events. I mean, he generates coverage no matter what he does. His tweets generate coverage, as you were pointing out just last night and every day. Is he going to start making a lot of ad buys and actually putting a lot of money into this race?
I think it's really gross, in all honesty, that Hillary's talking about raising $2 billion to win the presidency. Others with $100 million super PACs.
Super PACs. They got super PACs.
Donald Trump won't take any money from anybody.
No, I know that. Is he going to spend any money?
Why should he? He commands the media. And not because Donald Trump commands the media, because the media wants Donald Trump.
One more time, Pooper.
He brings ratings. He brings.
It's a symbiotic relationship. Does he bring ratings? Absolutely. And does it bring him, to be in the headlines and make him, higher profile, and that we're talking about him all the time? Absolutely. And I think to his point, I think he's got a point. Why should he, when he's getting more in earned media than anybody's able to buy in paid media with the money they have?
That's right. And they're pissed off about it.
Yeah.
It's like, when is he going to spend some money?
You're an executive at CBS.
Yeah.
Would you be pissed off about it?
Hell yeah. Well, it's a double-edged sword because he brings in big ratings.
I know, it's got to be driving him crazy.
It's driving.
That drives you crazy. Why are we running so much stuff on Trump? It's going to make him more popular. He's not giving us any money.
But I will say Trump he needs to be careful. He needs to spend some money. He needs to spend it. This is a mistake if he doesn't.
I don't think he himself. I don't know how many people realize this dynamic. I know we now realize.
Well, you just heard Poopers like he's getting a cut of the media buy. Hey, when is he going to spend some real money on ad buys? Huh? Like that is the only way you win, which of course is probably true, but
it is true.
It's sadly true. Sadly true.
Well, of course, there's also a myth because the media itself has to promote that myth.
Yes. Of course, it's like a catch-22. It's beautiful.
It's dynamite. I mean, and there'll be you can see it in the quarterly reports. They talk about it. I think you even brought one into the show. It's
advertising week.
Second quarter results for the election.
Advertising week. And the ratings came out. The overnights came out. And for the longest time, they didn't have the actual number. That's how the overnights work. They had a share, and a little over 11 share, and like a record beating of all Democratic debates, which a way to say not as big as the Republican debate, but if you look at TV by the numbers and everyone they love this, and I think CNN probably sold the ads at exactly the right level. I'm pretty sure they thought it would be around this number.
They're pretty good at this.
Yeah.
And the ads, first they talk, and you watched all that. And then they said, we're going to start the debates now. They run ads, ads, a whole bunch of ads, including one of the suffragettes.
7 minutes. So they didn't start until here 7:37 because of all the ads.
That's after the first round of ads. And then they introduced the candidates and said right back and went to another bunch of ads. The debate itself began at 10 minutes. It was 20 minutes in.
And it was pretty boring.
It was pretty bad.
Pretty boring. Okay, so let's see what we have going on. First of all, we have Bernie. The Burn is in trouble with the national news media. Now, Bernie, of course, is also with the mainstream media. Bernie, of course, is also a guy who's not spending any money on the stations. He first of all, he doesn't really have the money. But he's not going to waste it on buying ads. So, you got to take that into account when media starts talking trash about him. And of course,
I don't think these guys get this simple concept.
It's so simple.
We should put it into FAQ.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to spend money in advertising. And Trump will meet himself. He'll find out this is problematic for him as well.
He'll learn. But I do have a report.
Okay.
This is the update. This has got some of your information included, and then you'll tell us more. But this is Katie Turd. who's an NBC Trump hater.
Mm-hmm.
And she's
not turd, it's tur.
Tur. What did I say?
I think you said turd.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Katie's election update.
Runner often using the 43rd president to needle his opponent, Jeb Bush, in the past calling the Iraq invasion a mistake. This afternoon, Jeb fired back, tweeting Trump was, quote, pathetic, and that his brother kept us safe. Late Thursday, we finally got a peek into the mogul's unusual campaign financials.
They're much richer.
Of the leading candidates, Trump spent the least between July and September at $4.2 million, compared to Hillary Clinton's $25.8. Among his top expenses, $500,000 for those Make America Great Again hats and shirts. But perhaps most notably, despite what he repeatedly says,
I'm self-funding my campaign, okay? I'm the only one.
Donald Trump is spending more of his donors' money than his own.
Oh, please.
In fact, the billionaire hasn't personally put any cash into his campaign since June. The Republican leader bringing in $3.9 million from donors, averaging $50.
He is speaking for me because that's my money. I want him to spend my money.
The only candidate with a higher percentage of cash from small donors, Bernie Sanders. Meanwhile, Jeb Bush continues to struggle, only pulling in a disappointing $13 million. Katie Tur, NBC News, New York.
You know, it's become such a fact now. Just everyone just is all in and agrees if you have the most money, you become president. They're not even questioning this anymore.
I know. The media, of course, are going to push this. I mean, what better way to get more money?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The media is so involved with getting pushing the agenda of if you have the most money, you'll win. And then they always it's terrible they go on and on about the Citizens United thing.
But let's be...
it's horrible.
But John, before we go any further, let's stop this bull crap about Bernie Sanders only getting small donations from individuals. I mean, you can go to opensecrets.org. Here's his list of the top, 15 or 20? Machinist Aerospace Workers Union, Teamsters Union, National Education Association, United Auto Workers, United Food and Commercial Workers Union, Communication Workers of America, Laborers Union, Carpenters and Joiners Union, National Association of Letter Carriers, American Association for Justice, American Federation of States, County, Municipal Employees, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, United Transportation Union, Sheet Metal Workers Union, or Operating Engineers Union, Service Employees International Union, SEIU, Unite Here, United Steelworkers, and American Postal Workers Union, and American Federation of Teachers. He's a union guy, which fits in with his democratic socialist, which he was.
I wonder why. Now that you bring this up, I'm just wondering off the top of my head, why do the networks, because the networks just want the money. The networks want the money. This is what props them up. This is like the drug money propping up the banks. Mm-hmm. The networks want the money. They get most of the money. They did give a needle to Trump for spending half of, $500 million, or no, not $500 million. I'm sorry, $0.5 million on hats and T-shirts, and that was almost like giving him the needle. It's like, hey, that money's for us. That should be advertising money that goes to us. Yes. We don't want you, buying shirts and crap like that.
Hey, $500,000. That's our money. Don't buy shirts and hats.
That's our money. Yeah. So the three networks and all the little local stations all see this as their money. They want more of it. Mm-hmm. As far as they're concerned, the best thing that ever happened was the United Citizens thing, although that is really, to me, has done nothing to add. I have a clip later. The gay ambassador, United States ambassador to Denmark,
is that on his sash? Does it say gay ambassador?
You have to hear this report. It'll crack you up. This guy got the job. No, this is a two-parter. It's too long.
Okay, well, then let me...
But let me just say, this guy got the job for getting $1 billion for Obama, and that was before Citizens United. Oh, yeah. I mean, come on with the Citizens United.
Well, would you please explain Citizens United for everybody who has only heard the term?
This was the famous case that went to the Supreme Court because somebody was suing over showing a Hillary movie, and somehow it got twisted into that free money is free speech.
Right.
Which means that large corporations can now create these super PACs and just throw billions of dollars at a campaign. And it's bad because, it's bad. As Bernie Sanders says, we need campaign finance reform and all the rest of it because this is corrupting the system. It's not corrupting anything. There's no evidence of this. But they like to say it. But it's the media that says it the most.
Yeah.
Oh, Citizens United. Find some guy to say something bad about Citizens United. Now, the idea to me seems to be the following. If you're a Democrat in particular, because Citizens United is supposed to benefit the Republicans only somehow.
Because they're the only one who have rich people.
Yeah.
Hello, Warren Buffett. Hello, Bill Gates.
Right. Bill Gates, the DuPont guy.
Hello, Kleiner Perkins. Yeah.
All of them. Yeah. All the whole Kleiner Perkins operation. So that's a myth, but that's okay because what it does is it gets people to go, oh, my God, I'm going to have to give money to fight the Citizens United thing. So I'll give my money to the Democrats.
Right. So there's more money. More money coming in for advertising. Well, here's McCain, what I thought was just a big, whoa clip. Where, again, let's take into account, we have the McCain-backed guys, which is Department of Defense, Pentagon. And these are all, as Putin himself says, these are all mercenaries. They'll work for whomever, but as long as the U.S. keeps supplying them, they'll work for them. But then the other guys, the CIA, our thesis, that this is ISIL, right?
And that would be backed up by the report, the military report that came out 2 years ago that said we needed to make an organization.
We need to make it, and so that's exactly what CIA does. And so if you listen with that in mind to what McCain says here, he's not lying.
Do you believe that Russia is targeting ISIS targets or not?
They're not. They may be targeting some, Chris, but it's interesting. Their initial strikes were against the individuals and the groups that have been funded and trained by our CIA in a incredible flaunting of any kind of cooperation or effort to conceal what their Putin's priority is, and that is, of course, to prop up Bashar Assad. And by the way, I can absolutely confirm to you that they were strikes against our Free Syrian Army or groups that have been armed and trained by the CIA, because we have communications with people.
So not only is he saying, they struck, it wasn't ISIL, but it was really the guys who are ISIL, and because we talked to them, we have confirmation. Excuse me, CIA, we know what's going on over there. We know what you guys are doing
there. And so now we're going to have a meeting of the military or some kind of communications. That seems to be the administration's first priority. And so we can stand by and watch them strike those groups that are fighting against Bashar Assad that we're training and funding. This is an Orwellian experience.
That's for sure.
For John McCain to say it's an Orwellian experience is quite rich. Bunch of put. Hey, I've been looking into this Jeremy Corbyn guy, the new leader,
Labour leader from the UK.
Yeah. And
I heard, before you go into that, I don't have a clip.
I do,
but one of the I can't remember. Oh, never mind. But there was been a number of debates and discussions, mostly on RT, using American socialists to discuss this guy. And this guy is really an interesting character, from what I can tell, even though he's supposedly, according to the BBC folks, that he's just made it so that Cameron's boys will just run roughshod over everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of love for him that I'm seeing, and not living in the UK, of course, it's very difficult to get a real feel for the street. But I do know that he has one big issue, and his issue is speeches. He is not a trained speaker, which is kind of, I don't know what they were thinking, man. It's like, you got to get someone who can talk and can, do simple things like read a teleprompter. This is probably the first of many Jeremy Corbyn teleprompter gaffes. And you know what? We have our president didn't do too well in the beginning with his teleprompter. He had a lot of problems, a lot of issues. Corbyn has some problems too.
We need to be investing in skills, investing in our young people, and
strong message here. Not cutting student numbers.
He read the direction on the teleprompter. This is like strong message here. You know, like it was like a little note.
All caps usually, so you don't read it.
What an idiot!
Let's play it again.
You like that, huh? Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. Here we go.
We need to be investing in skills, investing in our young people, and strong message here, not cutting student numbers.
Oh, man. That's too much.
Yeah, that can happen to anybody.
I will say that if you want to know why maybe we don't have our Congress doing anything, we talked about it just the other day. I saw our buddy Mark Hall's documentary, Killing Ed, and USA Today. I don't know if you saw this. USA Today finally, although they didn't take it all the way through to the charter schools, headline, Turkish faith movement secretly funded 200 trips for lawmakers and staff.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Funny.
The group. So you've heard of Fethullah Gulen for years on the show. Now it shows up in USA Today, accusing the Gulenist movement.
You mentioned this before because you mentioned Shirley, what's her name, and Texas woman.
It's not. It's
Shirley.
Shirley Jackson Jones.
Shirley Jackson Jones.
What is her name? I don't like that woman. Shirley Jackson Jones. Here it is. So there were 200 trips. This was investigated. Of course, no one will get here. Congressional disclosures show.
I'll bet you that woman.
Jackson Lee is her name.
Jackson Lee. I'll bet you she has. I would bet Sheila Jackson Lee. I'll bet you the 50 cents I lost. I'll double up.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, but okay, yes.
I double up that her house is filled
with Turkish rugs. Yeah.
Filled.
One Gulen group, the Texas-based Turquoise Council of Americas and Eurasians, which is mentioned in Mark's movie, sponsored trips for 3 lawmakers, 7 staff members in 2011, filing disclosures claiming it was the sole sponsor of the trips at a total cost of about $54,000. But the same organization filed an IRS tax form that year claiming it spent only $33,000 on travel. Love it when they have the magic numbers in there, with no expenditures for the travel of public officials. So what happens is, under the guise of, come and look at how, whatever, I guess the charter schools were helping, whatever it is, let's go, and I think this is, I'm in on the rugs. And these a-holes all go on these trips. And they're funded by radical elements, protected by, for everything we know, CIA. And they just happily go on these little, what the hell are they doing? And what does the guy from Texas have to do in Turkey?
You know what's funny is there's in Istanbul, where they have a lot of rug dealers. Uh-huh. There is a major rug dealer in the large market. There's one of these, giant buildings that's the size of 3 football fields. That's a marketplace, and you can buy anything. They got, besides the vegetables. These Middle Eastern markets are fantastic. There's a giant rug store, and there's one of the biggest. And you go in there, and the first thing they do is they show you they have like a 3-ring binder, and it's all celebrities and politicians' pictures holding various rugs that they bought.
Oh, my.
And I'm talking George Bush, H.W. was in there. Is one I remember. Then there's a bunch of different celebrities from Hollywood, and then there's other politicians. And this is their method of confirming that they have good rugs.
That's great. You look it up. I'm going to play a little bit of Trump's continuing message, which is important.
But I see all these young, strong men. And I'm saying that's a strange migration because they're all men. So then I said, I wonder why they're not fighting for their country, number one. And then you see what's going on in Germany, where they're having tremendous problems with what's happening with their women, with these people. And what's happening, you're reading the stories. I hate to even repeat what's going on. So now they want to talk about 200,000. I'm looking at all these men. We're going to bring them into our country. We know nothing about them. They're not documented. They can't give you papers. They don't know anything. We know nothing. This could be one of the great Trojan horses. This could make the Trojan horse look like peanuts. Okay? Now, is that the case? Probably not. But the word probably is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Probably not. It's probably not the case. But you know what? Why are we taking chances? We're going to spend billions of dollars over a 10-year period. They say it costs billions. And, you know, I actually said to one, and I've said it very strongly, because if I'm president and if I win and I become president, they are going back. They're going back. They're going back.
So
they're going back.
This is Trump's continuing meme, specifically as it relates to Mexicans. He's saying it here about the migrants, the asylum seekers, and possible ISIS terrorists. But Trump has started off the entire cycle with, we've got to send the Mexicans back. Undocumented, illegal, you got to go back. These guys are in gangs. They're killing people. It's a huge mess. And everyone's laughing and, oh, you horrible hater. You're a total piece of crap. You know, how can you say that about Mexicans? Well, witness, we go back to our little panel here with Comey and Jed Johnson, and they completely 100% corroborate Donald Trump's message about illegal immigrants, in particular Mexicans.
We talk about the threat from ISIS. It's spectacular. And we talk about a couple of dozen folks that are here that are major concerns that are here. Last year,
that's Senator Lankford, by the way.
We had over 10,000 deaths by heroin on the streets of the United States. Hotel rooms, houses, on the streets, homes, people quietly dying from heroin and from narco-terrorists moving into our borders and distributing this incredibly toxic substance across our nation. So whether it's heroin, whether it's cocaine, whether it's marijuana, whether it's methamphetamines, it's a very strategic move that's happening, and it's extremely aggressive and seems to be accelerating at a pace we haven't seen before.
Now, remember, Donald Trump said the Mexicans are bringing gang violence, drugs, everything into our country. It has to stop. We have to go after them. He said, the first people I'm sending back are the gang members, and now listen to what is happening right now.
In many areas of certain types. We seem to have new locations that these drugs are coming from as well. So can you help me understand the coordinated strategy, not only dealing with ISIS and those threats on American soil, but the threats that are coming in from narco-terrorists around the world as well, both their distribution networks, the interdiction, and if we're dealing with new locations and new groups to bring it in. How are we coordinating that among the agencies to take that on?
Senator, I can start from the enforcement perspective. Your description is completely accurate, and I actually worry that our country's not getting it the way you described it.
Oh.
I recently, the acting administrator of the DEA, who is a great leader, sent over his team to brief me on their current view of the threat, and it is breathtaking. Right? Cocaine use has gone down since 2006. That's good news. All the rest is not just bad news, it's awful.
Right.
And so the strategy from the enforcement perspective is try to disrupt the traffickers, right? Try to lock them up, both the kingpins in Mexico, which is where this is coming from.
Oh, gee.
And to disrupt the gangs and organized criminals they're using to distribute it in the United States.
Oh.
The goal being to try to drive up the price, to be honest. What's happening...
Hey, hold on a second. We'll have none of that, Comey.
This heroin is so cheap and so pure that it's a tidal wave washing over children and killing them because they don't know how pure it is.
Killing children.
So that's the strategy from the law enforcement perspective. Drive up the cost by locking up as many of these people as we can.
We seem to have supply coming from new areas as well. Are you seeing new players internationally that are trying to actually get supply to the United States?
Interesting. Could it be from somewhere else, this epidemic that is washing over us?
Mm-hmm. I mean, Mexico is obviously a very close neighbor. They're pushing all the way through North America, all the way to Canada.
Hey.
Are there other locations that you've seen on the horizon that you would say this is a new region that we haven't dealt with as much, but they're trying to transport to the United States?
Please tell me Donald Trump can't be right. Please tell me it's not just Mexico. Please, please, please.
The big focus is Mexico, because what's happened is the Mexican traffickers have figured out that they can do better by, instead of bringing Colombian heroin or heroin from some other place in the United States and transport...
Whoa, hold on a second. He said heroin from some other place in the United States? Would that be the poppies that we bring in from Afghanistan? They're cutting into our supply here?
I don't know.
That's
why we have to go after these Mexicans.
Listen to this.
Do better by, instead of bringing Colombian heroin or heroin from some other place in the United States and transport to the United States. They're growing it in southern Mexico. They're growing the poppies. They're refining it themselves. So it's just a business. They just shorten their transportation routes. They've dropped their cost so they can sell it at a lower cost and a higher purity. And so it's that domination. And then the other piece, which is a plague in the West, is methamphetamine. Right. They're making it in huge factories in Mexico. Again, they're not bringing it in from Colombia or any other place anymore. So that the center, ground zero for this plague on across the drugs is Mexico.
Oh, Donald Trump is right.
Well, he can be right only once. It's not going to help his cause.
I know that, but still, he's right. So I got just a couple clips here. This is there was a Trump rally, and I don't know if you saw this, but there was a black guy out who was so pissed off at Obama, and just he was like, "I'm here. I'm all for Donald Trump." And I think this guy is real. Although, man, he looks a lot like an Eddie Murphy impersonation of an old black dude who's pissed off. I have to say, for a minute, I'm like, Eddie Murphy's doing this. It's really good. But I think it does show some general discontent.
Obama has let me down. I never voted before, and I voted for him twice. And he broke my heart. He broke my heart. He broke my heart, especially blacks.
Has it helped you out?
He broke our heart.
Has it helped you out any?
Yeah, he helped us out. Help my young people get killed by the police department because they can't kill him. We need Donald Trump. Obama has failed. Right. Ain't no ifs and buts about it. He has failed. He let us down. We don't have nobody fighting for us. I'm sick of him. I'm sick of him. I got tricked.
I got
bamboozled. Twice.
Bamboozled.
Not going to do it to me no more because Donald Trump the man. That's my partner. $10 million strong. He's going to make all of us very blessed, very successful.
There you go. And I think there is a general move amongst the African-American community, but I could be wrong.
All right, I got a little offbeat clip. This is just something funny. We always talk about NGOs and their spies. Mm-hmm. Here, North Korea and the NGO, a big scandal.
Yes, this is a good one indeed.
A new investigation has revealed the Pentagon used a humanitarian NGO as a front for spying on North Korea. The Intercept reports the Pentagon paid Humanitarian International Services Group millions of dollars to infiltrate North Korea and spy on its nuclear program. But none of the Christian missionaries, aid workers, or smugglers who were hired to move equipment as part of the effort were aware they were part of the secret Pentagon operation.
Yeah.
It's like anyone who listens to No Agenda for more than a couple of months knows how that works.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's why Putin kicks out all the nonprofits.
Yeah, that bastard Putin.
It's interesting, though, that this is now being pointed at Kosovo, and these things. Here, I picked up a report on Kosovo. Have you been following what's been happening in the parliament in Kosovo?
No.
This is great.
For the second week in a row, opposition members gassed Kosovo's parliament.
Tear gas. They're throwing tear gas in the parliament chambers.
They're trying
Fox would be proud
to scuttle a deal that would grant ethnic Serbian enclaves in Kosovo greater autonomy. Opposition politicians claim the EU-brokered deal undermines the sovereignty of Kosovo, which declared independence from Serbia in 2008. Belgrade has refused to recognize the small nation ever since. On Monday, police fought running battles with stone-throwing protesters who demanded the release of the parliamentarian who set off gas in the chamber last week. A bloc of opposition parties vows to continue disrupting parliament until the deal with Serbia is defeated.
So that may just be coincidental, but perhaps it's time for some regime change. If we have, it's a Kosovo hacker, we've got people gassing each other in parliament.
Well, this is no coincidence. You're right. There's some things that we have to now.
Now we got to take a look at Kosovo.
Something's going on with Kosovo.
Where's Noodleman?
Yeah, where is she?
Let's see. It wouldn't surprise me if Nuland is in Kosovo. Hold on. If she's there, I'm going to. Let's see. I don't see anything offhand. Newland.
Where is she anyway?
Here, Newland on crisis visits Kosovo. Yay! Newland to press Serbia on talks with Kosovo. Yay! Assistant Secretary Newland travels to Kosovo. Yay! Well, now we know.
Okay, so we have the hacker story. Kosovo triggers your thought. Kosovo being gassed.
Yeah.
And now, just by coincidence, it's like looking up oil.
Yeah. She's all over. She's all over.
She is the front man. She is the advance man.
She runs the intelligence department at state.
Right, the little agency that we got.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. All eyes on Kosovo, everybody.
Caliphate, the caliphate. That is why we'll all die. The caliphate.
Woo!
Meanwhile, you might as well close this. I have a bunch of clips, but this I think we just might as well close with the ISIS smugglers clip because this still cracks me up.
Okay.
ISIS funds itself in part by looting Syria's ancient treasures. And today, we got the first look at ISIS's own records, which were scooped up in a raid by U.S. Special Operations Forces. Here's Margaret Brennan.
When ISIS financial kingpin Abu Sayyaf was killed by U.S. Special Forces last May, American soldiers made a startling discovery. Hundreds of precious antiquities stored in his compound. Today, newly declassified documents show for the first time just how deeply ISIS relies on smuggling antiquities to fund its terror.
Well, I've just figured something out.
Okay.
We should do this show, but except for asking donations, we just ask for your children so we can smuggle them to other countries. It's clearly a better business model.
Well, that's probably true, but I don't know how that's got to do with antiquities unless the kids are really old.
No, but, smuggling, it's also people smuggling. It's people smuggling. It's antiquity smuggling. It's all bull crap is what it is.
There's a lot of smuggling going on. And the smuggling of the antiquities just does get to me because we were propagandized by the media that
they were breaking them and
they were
smashing
busting them up.
Yeah.
They were busting up at the phony ones because this is a fake. They busted up and take a movie of it.
Yeah, the plaster of Paris and the wires inside was just a minor giveaway. Okay, final one. Camille Paglia.
Oh, yes.
Camille Paglia. Who is Camille Paglia?
Camille Paglia is one of the leading anti-feminist feminists.
What is that?
Intellectual. She's an anti-feminist feminist. When I say that, people who know who she is will understand what that means. I always thought she was like one of the greatest essayists I've ever read. She is not as active as she used to be, like I'd say maybe 6-7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And she's very intelligent and very good essayist. I knocked at her, what I thought was greatness, down a few notches when I found out that her essay, she'll write like a 2,500 word essay, will sometimes take her 6 months to write. Well, that is not the same as cranking these things out, which I think is a different. But I've always, and she's a massively, she's a massive lesbian, not big in terms of fat. She's just a major voice in the lesbian community.
Do you like what she writes?
Yeah, I do actually.
Let me see. Looking at the Book of Knowledge, Paglia characterizes herself as a Clinton Democrat and libertarian. She opposes laws against prostitution, pornography, drugs, and abortion. Cocaine! Paglia criticized Bill Clinton for not resigning after the Monica Lewinsky scandal. That's where it happened, which she says paralyzed the government. So, but you like her. You think but she is a Democrat.
Yeah, not this. I'm apolitical. I'm an independent. I'm
not saying that. I'm saying that she. I'm not saying you can't. This is not about you liking her or not. I'm happy that you like her, but that she is a Democrat and you wouldn't expect her to go against Hillary.
If you just asked me out of the blue, if Camille Paglia would be for or against Hillary, I would be totally convinced she's not a big Hillary fan.
Well, that would be a soft expression of what she thinks about Hillary Clinton. Stand by.
What is it about Hillary that bothers you?
She's a fraud, okay?
Explain how is she a fraud?
Hillary is a mess, okay? And we're going to reward with the presidency a woman who has enabled, okay, the depredations and the exploitation of women, okay, by that corn-pone husband of hers, and so on. I mean, it's like the way feminists have made themselves blind, okay, to Hillary's record, okay, of trashing. They were going to try to destroy Monica Lewinsky, and so on. I mean, it's a scandal. Anyone who believes in sexual harassment guidelines, okay, should have seen that the disparity of power between Clinton and Monica Lewinsky was one of the most grotesque ever, okay, in the history of sex crime. Okay, he's a sex criminal. Okay, so we're going to put that guy back in the White House. Okay, Hillary has ridden on his coattails. Yeah. This is not a woman who has her own career, made her own career. She's a woman who failed the bar exam in Washington.
She didn't say okay all the time.
That's too bad, isn't it?
But that's what she's one of those types of essayists. I mean, a lot of people, she's not erudite, but she's a great writer, and I'm sure her essays on Hillary are probably like real jaw droppers.
Yeah. There you go. But speaking of the faulty intelligence that got us into the Iraq War, this morning, Tony Blair, known as the poodle lapdog of George W. Bush back in the day, confessed to a number of things on Fareed Zakaria, the anti-constitutionalist douchebag on CNN. Did you see this?
No, I didn't. Did some people come into the studio there to arrest him?
They should have.
Given, however, that Saddam Hussein did not prove to have weapons of mass destruction, was the decision to enter Iraq and topple his regime a mistake?
You know, whenever I'm asked this, I can say that I apologize for the fact that the intelligence we received was wrong. Sorry. Because even though he had used chemical weapons extensively against his own people, against others.
Shari, not Shari.
The program in the form that we thought it was did not exist in the way that we thought. So I can apologize for that. I can also apologize, by the way, for some of the mistakes in planning, and certainly our mistake in our understanding of what would happen once you removed the regime. But I find it hard to apologize for removing Saddam. I think even from today in 2015, it is better that he's not there than that he is there.
Oh. When people look at the rise of ISIS, many people point...
Let's stop here for 1 second. So he's saying, hey, sorry, what do we know? But, ultimately it's better. Everybody wins in the end, except for, 1 million people killed.
Of ISIS. Many people point to the invasion of Iraq as the principal cause. What do you say to that?
I think there are elements of truth in that, but I think we've, again, got to be extremely careful, otherwise we'll misunderstand what's going on in Iraq and in Syria today.
Yes, please.
Of course, you can't say that those of us who removed Saddam in 2003 bear no responsibility for the situation in 2015, but it's important also to realize, one, that the Arab Spring, which began in 2011, would also have had its impact on Iraq today, and two, ISIS actually came to prominence from a base in Syria and not in Iraq.
Oh.
And that leads me to the broader point, which I think is so essential when we're looking at policy today, which is we have tried intervention and putting down troops in Iraq. We've tried intervention without putting in troops in Libya. And we've tried no intervention at all but demanding regime change in Syria. Right? It's not clear to me that even if our policy did not work, subsequent policies have worked better.
A dick.
He left one off the list.
What's that?
Bringing the Russian army into Syria.
Yeah, exactly. Angela Merkel has said, you know what? We got all these migrants coming in. They're not refugees because refugees have certain rights under the Geneva Convention and United Nations treaties. But let's not call them refugees. However, we're going to take all the migrants we like. And Hamburg, the government seat, has now said they are going to confiscate empty buildings. If you have a building, even if you own the building, and it's empty, the German government is now going to confiscate those. It's a form of what do you call it here?
Eminent domain.
Eminent domain. Thank you. It's a form of eminent domain, and they will then put the migrants into these buildings they have confiscated from legal owners. How good is that?
Wow.
I'm telling you, man, these people are cool.
Well, that could be happening here any minute.
Yeah, well, actually, I have a clip here. This is it kind of ties into that. Of course, Common Core was set up with the No Child Left Behind money through the Board of Governors. It's not the board, through the Governors Association of America. I think that's what it's called. So all the governors got together. And
they were suckered.
Well, they're not even suckered. They were blackmailed. It's like, see this money? You cannot.
Well, yes, there's that. The blackmail.
You cannot use this money unless you are on board with Common Core. Bobby Jindal. I think this was from Glenn Beck, and it's not specifically about Common Core, but you'll get the idea when he talks about the arrogance of President Obama specifically. But I could say that this would be, white leadership in general thinks this way because power corrupts from some crazy way when it comes to human beings.
The president meets with the governors once a year. Every president does this, usually in February. It's through the National Governors Association. Democrat and Republican were in a private room with him at the White House, no press. After they kicked the press out after a few minutes. I asked him a question. I said, Mr. President, you're so worried about rising student debt, rightfully. And I said, you've bragged about the power of the pen and the phone. There's something you could do about this. I said, without spending any more government money, what if you broke up the accrediting monopolies? Because you're limiting competition in higher education. And another governor asked a similar question on health care. What if you gave states more flexibilities? Behind closed doors, there are a lot of Democratic governors. I think that they wouldn't say this publicly. They would say, look, if you took away the red tape and bureaucracy, you could cut 10, 15%, and I could run these programs more efficiently, whether it's Medicaid or these other programs. Listen to the arrogance of the president's answer. Now, he's talking to a room full of governors, Democrats and not just Republicans, Democrats. He goes to me and to the other governor, well, if we did that, he said there would be people dying in the streets, they wouldn't get the health care they need, and there would be students getting ripped off because they wouldn't get the education they need. So what he is basically saying is, you guys, these states, you aren't smart enough. The same people elected you that elected me, but if for some reason y'all aren't smart enough to do this, you need the federal government to protect you from yourself.
Yeah, shut up. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about.
That is a common thought.
Yeah.
That's for the people that want bigger federal government. They want a national police, that sort of thing. And that's what you end up with.
Yeah.
And, of course, there's all kinds of different ways you can blame it. I think this is a good time to play this clip. This is Get Out of the Road clip. I think you'll enjoy.
Get behind me, Satan! Down with the devil! Down with the fraud! Get out of the road! Get behind me! You understand that? Get out of the road, New World Order! Get out of my mind! Get out of my free will! Get out of my way! Humanity is going interstellar.
The seed man's getting divorced.
No.
Yeah.
Is this a big scandal down there in Austin?
It is, because now we're seeing what the seed man possesseth.
I can't say it.
Possesseth. He got some nice real estate here in Austin.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
He got some nice real estate here in Austin. I got an Airstream. He's got some nice real estate here. I don't know. I'm thinking boner pills is the way to go. All right.
Sell seeds.
We have, we can always sell seeds.
Yeah.
With jerky. All right. So I didn't see this myself, but it was sent to me because I don't watch Bill O'Reilly on the democratically controlled Fox News Network. But he had the publisher of the Roseburg Beacon on the show and got some local flavor and color about what people in the community of the Oregon Community College are feeling about President Obama's using this event for political means. And there's one little gotcha at the end that I want to talk about.
There's a rumor President Obama might go to Roseburg, Douglas County. The funerals start Thursday, and I guess they will extend into next week. How will the president be treated if he does indeed travel to Roseburg?
Well, I think the president, first of all, is not welcome in the community, and that isn't just my opinion. We've talked to dozens upon dozens of citizens, some family members of the victims, our elected officials, and you may have a copy. If you don't, I'd be happy to read from it on the air, that our Douglas County commissioners, along with our Douglas County elected sheriff, who is very popular, and our chief of police, all came to a consensus language about him not being welcome here to grandstand for political political purposes.
All right,
And I'd be happy to read that or
don't
share
read it, but just encapsulate why they don't want President Obama to come.
Well, the bottom line, Bill, is that a number of people believe that when the president opened his press conference, we still have finished counting the bodies on the campus right behind me. We haven't identified whose children were killed and whose were not. And even at that same moment, he is saying some people will accuse me of politicizing this issue. And he goes on to say, but it should be. So he not only acknowledged that it could be politicized, he was doing so deliberately. So now he wants to come to our community and stand on the corpses of our loved ones to make some kind of a political point. And it isn't going to be well received, not by our people, not by the families, and not even by our elected officials.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, if that happens, Mr. Jakes, we'll check back. Real quick.
Check this out. Now, so first of all, I don't know if that's really the whole community's feeling, but he references the sheriff, who we've discussed in great detail.
Yeah.
But then he adds this little thing at the end.
Go ahead.
If I may, there's one other thing I'd like to throw in just really quickly. Something else, even on the heels of this rumor the president may come, is that the Westboro Baptists are on the way to disrupt some of these funerals. And we think this is appalling. There's an organized plan to help keep the families isolated from this. But this is just one more potential insult to what these families have already.
What is it with these Westboro Baptists? Now, this is a very, very small congregation. I think it's 30 or 40 people. And somehow they have the funds and they have the means to travel.
They make a lot of money from their signs.
They make money from the signs? The God hates fags signs?
Yeah. I think I'm kidding.
There's licensing, right? There's licensing rights for hats.
They sell the signs. You can, if you find their website, you can buy the signs, and they have posters of the signs, and they have this individual signs, and you can buy them, and they're reasonably priced. And I was looking at them as items of art.
Are they on Etsy? What, you're going to hang a God hates fags art piece in your house?
That's only what. A lot of the signs are quite funny.
That's the one I keep seeing.
Well, that's one of them. Yeah, but yeah, they make a.
Is this maybe because they go out, they protest funerals?
So they're marketing their signs when we see them out there.
You think that's really what it's all about? Is the signs?
It's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, it seems they're more to me like a femin. You know, where you can hire these beautiful women who will paint their topless body or their whole naked bodies and protest. Because you can hire them. You can hire those guys.
With no agenda painted all over them.
I wonder how much that would cost.
Yeah, probably not as expensive as you think. It's probably cheap, relatively.
So don't you think it's possible that maybe just a group just to be a-holes and show up and disrupt things?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have the one little funny clip at the end. Okay. Bush eats nails. I just got to get it out of the way.
Okay, and that will be our last one.
But just talk about your resilience, because some people don't think you know how to fight.
Man, they don't know me. They don't know me. Did you sign this too, Luke? I eat nails when I wake up, and then I have breakfast.
Where does it come from, your ability to fight back from adversity?
Oh, it's just, I'm a grinder.
He's on Grindr? What did he say?
He said he's on Grindr.
He's on Grindr. All right, everybody, you heard it here first on the No Agenda Show. Jeb Bush is on Grindr. Dynamite.
Thank you for listening to this No Agenda compilation. Feel free to copy and share this CD with others. For the latest No Agenda CD, visit noagendacd.com. And for the latest news analysis and deconstruction, please visit noagendashow.com or Google No Agenda.